For over 400 years, one character has stood as the ultimate literary puzzle. He's been endlessly debated, psychoanalyzed, and reinterpreted, but he always seems to be just beyond our grasp. Well, today we're opening the cold case file on the Prince of Denmark. Okay, so let's just get right into it. Who is this guy, really? Is he a noble hero pushed into an impossible situation, a brilliant mind that just snaps under the weight of grief? Or is he a victim, totally paralyzed by everything going on around him and inside him? This isn't just some dusty old literary question. It's a psychological puzzle, and we're going to try and piece it together, one theory at a time. So, to really get what makes Shakespeare's version so revolutionary, we have to go back. We need to look at the story he started with. Because, you see, before Hamlet was a deep, philosophical thinker, he was a much, much simpler character. And if you look at this timeline, you can see the story has this long and pretty winding history. It all starts way back, around 1200 AD, as this old Norse saga about a hero named Hamlet. It's a brutal, straight-up tale of revenge. Then hundreds of years later, it gets translated into French. Eventually, some version of it, which is now lost, by the way, hits the London stage as this thing called the Hamlet. And then, around 1600, Shakespeare gets his hands on it. And that's when everything changes. And wow, this comparison really lays it all out. The original guy, Hamlet, he's basically an action hero. His madness, it's a clear, calculated trick to get what he wants, revenge. Simple, right? But Shakespeare takes this action hero and turns him into this melancholic, quiet introvert. He swaps out pure action for philosophical doubt. Hamlet's fake madness becomes Hamlet's full-blown existential crisis. A simple quest for revenge gets twisted into this profound, endlessly debatable look at what it even means to be human. All right, let's fast forward a few centuries. For the longest time, people argued about why Hamlet hesitates so much. Is he a coward? Is it about morality? Then, in the early 20th century, a brand new field of study comes along and offers a completely different, kind of startling answer. It basically puts the prince squarely on the psychiatrist's couch. And the key that unlocked this whole new way of thinking was a concept from Sigmund Freud, the Oedipal conflict. The basic idea is that a child has this unconscious desire for their parent of the opposite sex, which leads to jealousy of the same-sex parent. All of a sudden, Hamlet's really weird relationship with his mother, Gertrude, and his white-hot hatred for his uncle-turned-stepfather, Claudius, well, it started to look less like righteous anger and more like a textbook psychological complex. So get this, through this Freudian lens, Hamlet isn't delaying revenge because he's a deep thinker. Oh no, he's delaying it because Claudius has done the exact thing Hamlet secretly wanted to do himself, get rid of his dad and marry his mom. So his hesitation isn't a philosophical choice, it's a symptom. He's in a state of neurotic paralysis, his mind completely at war with its own hidden desires. Okay, but just when you think you've cracked the code, Hamlet completely changes again. We're going to shift now from the individual mind to the collective mind, to a time and a place where Hamlet became this incredibly powerful symbol of political rebellion. Imagine you're in post-war Poland living under an oppressive government. You go to see this play, and suddenly the rotten state of Denmark feels familiar. The play's themes of being watched all the time, of corruption, of a world where something is deeply wrong, it all resonated like crazy. Hamlet's personal tragedy became a story about the entire nation. And this is what's so fascinating. They recoded everything. Elsinore Castle, that's not just a castle anymore. It's the oppressive state. The ghost of Hamlet's father, that became this haunting call from the nation's tragic past. And Hamlet's madness? Well, that was seen as a form of protest, really the only sane way to act in a totally corrupt and insane system. Even the arrival of Fortinbras at the very end took on a whole new meaning, symbolizing the constant threat of foreign invasion or some big political shakeup.
So, that brings us to today. How do we see him now? If the psychoanalytic Hamlet was a coherent mess, and the Polish Hamlet was a clear political symbol, today's Hamlet, well, he reflects our own, much more fragmented world.
A lot of modern interpretations see him as a post-psychological character. What does that mean? It means he isn't driven by one single clear motivation. Instead, he's this chaotic mix of inconsistent impulses and hidden feelings. He's kind of the perfect hero for an age like ours, an age that questions simple truths. He reflects our own complex and, sometimes fractured identities. Okay, so let's recap. We've seen Hamlet as an avenger, a patient, a rebel, and now a collection of random fragments. So what does it all mean? How can one single character be so many different things to so many different people? This table just lays it out so perfectly. In the original saga, the conflict is simple. It's man versus uncle. With Freud, it becomes internal, man versus himself. In post-war Poland, it's political, man versus the state. And today, it's existential, man versus meaninglessness. See how that works? Hamlet doesn't change, we do. The conflict we see in him is the one that defines our own time. And that right there is the absolute key to this whole thing. As the psychologist Szymon Cząstowski points out, Shakespeare's plays are kind of like a projective test, like an ink blot. What do you see? Shakespeare was a genius. He deliberately left Hamlet full of holes, contradictions, and unanswered questions. He created a character so complex and so psychologically huge that every generation can project its own anxieties, fears, and obsessions right onto him. So, in the end, maybe we'll never solve the 400-year-old mystery of who is Hamlet. And maybe that's because the answer just keeps changing. Perhaps the ultimate genius of the character isn't who he is, but what he forces us to confront about who we are. The real enigma isn't on the page, it's in the mirror.